good evening to our viewers and welcome to the Evening Review Show. First and foremost, the Evening Review team would like to wish you a joyous and a very productive 2024. I'm Matthias Aufiku, the news editor of the Namibian Sun newspaper. Well, let's kick off the year on a digital note. Of course, the Ministry of Information, Communication and Technology today held the validation workshop for Namibia's National Digital Strategy, which will span from 2024 to 2028. For that, we have in studio Dr. Elizabeth Kamutuezu. Doctor, welcome and good evening.
Welcome and good evening, and compliments for the new year.
No, thank you very much.
And I'm grateful to be your first guest.
It's indeed a pleasure to have you as the first guest this year.
Indeed.
Yeah. Doctor, just briefly, the workshop today, what was it all about? What was the aim of this workshop?
Yeah, I think let me reflect back on the journey. The government, the Cabinet of Republic of Namibia have directed the Ministry of ICT to formulate or develop a national digital strategy that will position Namibia to leverage digital technologies and also transform and benefit from a fourth industrial revolution. But you might say I'm outdated now. Maybe we are speaking about the fifth industrial revolution, but nothing is lost anyway. It's a transition. Revolution, you transition. You do a transitional approach. So that is the background, and we have started the process, and through the funding and assistance of development partners like the GIS, we brought in experts to draft the strategy some months ago, and they have done a robust stakeholder consultation in the process. We apply different methodologies, like your digital landscape desktop studies, benchmarking of international best practices, the stakeholders consultations. We had quite numerous of workshops before, your one-on-one personal interviews with key informants in the sector, so that you also understand the notion and the feeling of the expertise in the sectors. And then they also had a survey, a national survey, where they send out questionnaire to wide range of people within a sector based on our database to respond to some questions pertaining to the digital transformation. That's the journey we undertook, and then they come up with a draft. But we as a government and us also complied. We are compelled to go back to the same people and say, hi guys, this is the product from your inputs. So that is what happened today. We presented a comprehensive, well-rounded strategy, draft strategy, for the stakeholders to provide their inputs and validate what, for those who participated in the process also, to validate that what they have provided have been covered. But mind you, during consultation, not everything will be included or incorporated, but to some extent you do a due diligence and you do some analysis, and then you can see how substantive are those comments and inputs for you to incorporate in your final version or final draft version. This is what happened today.
Okay. You mentioned the journey, maybe just for the benefit of the viewers. If I'm sitting at home and I wonder, so this strategy, before this strategy, what difference would it now bring that wasn't there in the past?
Yeah, it's a good question, in effect, from a layman person. In fact, to be honest with you, when our Honorable Minister of ICT by then, Mr. Stanley Sumata, proposed for us to have like a framework for digital transformation, and that was coming from many protocol and treaties like your SADC, your AU, and your ITU guidelines that member states should formulate or develop national digital transformation strategies to position themselves, how they align themselves and leverage on the technology. It was first, we thought we go for a policy. And we thought, after a due analysis, we realized that the current frameworks that we have, be it a law a policy or strategy by then was sufficient enough. The tone was there that we need to transform. So what we needed now, what we need currently is a strategy to move us from those statements, from those intentions, to move us to practical interventions.
Yeah.
Yes.
So amongst the discussion at the workshop today, implementation is always a buzzword when it comes to this sort of undertakings. Because many a times we've had so lovely frameworks, lovely policies, and they just sit there on the desk and gather dust. How does the ministry plan on executing and rolling this out once it's eventually launched?
You just repeat my closing remarks of us being known for having nice policies and strategies, and then it gathers dust, or the implementation is not reaping any fruits.
Yeah.
But coming back to today's discussion, I've been in a sector for a decade, more than a decade. But I can tell you today, the discussion was very impactful and insightful. I don't know where we get the participants from, although we even underestimated the numbers of people.
Yeah.
We ran out of space because of January and so on.
Yeah.
I think we were the first even almost to have a workshop early as 10 January, but we need to move on.
Yeah.
So the contribution for today, the reflections, I'm telling you, we had a lot of people that know the subject matters, that are knowledgeable. People have passion. And mind you, we had numbers of youth people, the young people, who got passion for digital transformation.
Yeah.
People now appreciate what technologies can do, how technology can change their living patterns, you know. So I think I've seen, I told you I've been in a sector for a decade. I've seen a wind of change are really coming within a space of ICT or digital landscape, because what I have observed today, I never observed before.
Yeah.
The way they unpack the strategy, not from a critic, not for pessimist view, but for optimistic future. That's how they done it.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. They say this can work, this cannot work, this we don't understand, and how you must make it for us to understand. That was the discussion of today.
Yeah.
And the inputs, the reflections, the feedback were impactful. And we have listened, and now we will act.
Yeah. Of course, this strategy, once rolled out, should be cascaded all across the government system. In terms of the rollout, does the ministry have a strategy yet as to how it plans to roll this out to all the other UMAs?
No, the good thing is, to the end, when you unpack your strategy, you have your vision, your mission, your core values, your strategic enablers, your pillars, whatever, your monitoring and evaluation.
Yeah.
Now you have the action implementation plan. It's where you bring in the actors to play. What I promised the audience today, and what the ministry will do moving forward, whatever we put in the action implementation plan will be owned by the actors or responsible agencies.
Yeah.
So in the past, you found an action implementation plan featuring a Ministry of ICT. And when you read it for your first time, that I'm featuring in this action implementation plan of OMAS or Ministry X, but I'm not aware that I must execute that action. But what I can promise is we'll liaise with the relevant ministry. They have been part of this. Some of these things are coming from them. We will make that we have the buy-in, we have the ownership. We are just a facilitator. MICT cannot transform the country digitally. We have subsectors that need to transform. E-governance issues, e-education, e-health, digital trade, your financial sector, and many more. So these actors should come on board and own the action implementation plans. The KPIs that will be outlined there would be theirs, not Ministry of ICT.
Yeah.
We are just a facilitator to make sure that we prosper and we reap the benefit of the technology.
Yeah. Of course, we know one of the biggest issues as far as the rollout of such frameworks, and strategies are concerned, is the funding aspect there.
I say that.
Yeah.
You repeat. You are repeating. I said that from the beginning.
Yeah. So how is the ministry going to go about that? I mean, we know the economic climate in the country.
Yeah. I must be honest with you. When you look at our budget, the ministry budget, our budget is operational. However, we have operators. There are some issues that boil down to operators, like the first pillar in the strategy is digital infrastructure. What does it mean? You need mobile towers across the country in all the pockets so that people first have the coverage. After you have a coverage, what is required? You need a device. Not all the devices are compatible to the networks.
Yeah.
And then it depends what type of network we are putting. Imagine, we talk about broadband. Broadband now is defined at the 3G. Not so you need, you understand. The broadband now is 3G. Now when you look at that, now after you have the coverage, the network is there, you have the device. What next? Just guess. I give you a wild guess. What next? You have the device, the network is there, the tower you can see every night. You have the smartphone, a Samsung, something. I don't want to mention products or iPhone, whatever. What next? You need data. You need data.
Affordable data.
Affordable data. You need to be 24/7 anyway. After that, what happens? Where do you now? If you get data, what do you do with the data?
Yes.
On social media, just reading Elizabeth post. No, you should put this data into good use. You must obtain information. It depends on your area of interest. If you're a student, go to the site where you can obtain information about your subject, your education. But you found that we stuck to the social media. So the adoption is very important. The rate of use of those platforms. And some people, mind you, they say, no, those platforms are not compatible. They are not ours. So you also need local content that entice the people. There are some people, some country where I've been traveling, you just browse through their local content and you get all the information like what you can get from the other platforms, international platforms. So they have localized the content so people also can understand in the vernaculars. And you need skills. There are some elders who have everything, but they don't have skills. You give your phone to your, the first time you buy your phone, what happened? You give to your son or to your daughter to configure it for you. Imagine. You have all the money, everything, but the skills are, or the know-how lacking. So you need to configure this. So this is the like we call it a cycle. Until to the end. And the uptake and adoption is very important in what we use these services for. We don't want just people to do it for social connections and TikTok and chatting. Also put in good use. If you're a farmer, you are on WhatsApp, this farmers group, but you can't go to a website where you can, or a video where you can even see how to vaccinate or how to treat a certain disease your cattle suffering from. But we are just on WhatsApp and whatever those groups. You imagine, you understand, you have everything, but also the uptake. Are we putting it in good use? So this is all the elements that one is we call it as an ecosystem that you need to bring in together. So that's what we want to transform.
Earlier on, you mentioned the issue of infrastructure, digital infrastructure for that matter. Looking at where we are, the status of our digital infrastructure today, do you think this strategy would fit in well as to where we are, or is it perhaps too far advanced for where we are, we are on the ground?
I think
have you done that research on the ground to ensure that this strategy would align to what we have on the ground?
I think as a ministry we have all the database. How's the coverage in Namibia? I can tell you, you are in the media, in the sector, so we are at the front runners of information. We are moving to 5G, but mind you, there are certain areas in the country that have never tasted a bit of 3G coverage, which is your new broadband, according to the SADC requirements. So by that also we recognize the challenges. Those are the policy gaps. Those are the gaps that we have, that there are those areas that are unconnected, or even if they are connected, you need to have a reliable fast. If you talk about e-medicine, telemedicine, e-health, e-education, you need to upload your assignments on a certain portal. It's a 2G will not, a 3G also on a network that is on and off will not be sufficient. So we recognize the gap that are existing. We need to narrow them. But at the same time also, we cannot be left behind. We also need to move with the world, because this sector is evolving a bit faster than anything that I've experienced in life, unless a car. Imagine, unless cars. But cars are driven by human beings anyway. So you can even accelerate or stop, you understand? It depends. But that is a dilemma. We take cognizance of the gaps. That's why we want universal access, that all the citizens have the same access. We also promote the broadband for all. At least if you are not on 5G, at least a 3G can be sufficient, but something less than a 3G is not desirable. But we have challenges, so we need to understand the challenges, the cost implications of putting up those towers. I'm not an operator. I don't know how much it costs, but I have somehow a know how high it costs, and then you put a tower for 3 people who can't afford a smartphone, who can't afford the data. Then you look at, is it an investment in return? So that's why we say the government can come in and we fill the gap through funding mechanisms. It should not be only coming from a government coffer, but a funding mechanism must be in place, either on the PPP approach or other means. But really, operators cannot be also left alone to provide infrastructures. It should be a core responsibility.
How are we progressing in that space? Is the ministry satisfied at the pace at which we are moving as far as setting up digital infrastructure is concerned?
Yeah, if you look at the map and the statistics, we have the operators have done a lot. We talk about close over 100,000 mobile towers across the country. That was not the case in the past. And even during COVID, there was a spit, there was a need. Some infrastructures were constructed under emergencies so that these people can have the connectivities. So I think that also was a window of opportunity for us to move a bit faster. But like I told you, there are investment involved. These things that don't come at free. Even if you advocate for free internet, someone will carry the cost somewhere. Even is it free for the end user, but it's not free to provide it. So you understand? But I must say that we are quite happy with the progress, although there are still gaps that we recognize. Those unconnected communities. But we have narrowed the digital divide. But we should also not narrow ourselves. The digital divide comes in many forms. It's between urban and rural, women and men, youth and elders, the have and don't have, the rich and the poor, and so on. You understand? So we have to approach this digital divide, to bridge this digital. When we want to bridge the digital divide, we have to approach it holistically. So, and that is it's a big challenge, but we are moving there. Digital divide is a phenomenon everywhere. It's not only in Namibia, in the developing countries. And instead, if you want to position Namibia to the rest of the world, in Africa, we are the best. We are doing wonders. Although there are some element of our cost of data and so on, but it's contributed to dominant players and lack of competition in the market. I think you know what I'm talking about.
So, once rolled out, how do you see the strategy bolstering? And I'm thinking in particular sectors, key sectors such as education and health. I know you mentioned them earlier on. How do you see the strategy helping those responsible for those areas to really effectively carry out their mandates?
I think the message was clear today, and it's been clear from onset. And we had some of the leaders, the people that involved in various sectors. Like Office of Prime Minister is a key stakeholder to us because they are responsible for spearheading the e-governance of all the OMAs or ministries. And I mind you, somewhere now in January, I think in 2 weeks, they are also going to have engagement to revise their e-government strategy, how they should move. So I think all these things are happening at the same time that we also bring our synergy together and our thoughts together so that we have one common goals. But to say, you know, when we talk about digital transformation, we talk about a full-fledged service. You know, digital transformation goes through different stages.
Yeah.
Your digitizations, your digital, then you say transformation.
Yeah.
That is the end product. By that we mean, if I have to download a form on the Ministry of ICT website, that is not digital transformation. Imagine I have to download, I print first.
Fill in and
I
scan.
fill in with my ink, not send, deliver, hand delivery, address, floor number 7.
Yeah.
You know, that is not digital transformation that we're talking about. What we mean issued, one stop. When I download, I complete, I send online.
Yeah.
There must not be a physical interaction there. But that is now the dilemma we're sitting with. And it requires some amendments to some of our tools and processes.
Yeah.
You remember, some of the forms are prescribed by acts. You must complete it in hand. You must submit it in person, and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So by that, we need to also to amend the old
Yeah.
way of doing things and move to the new norms. Yeah.
So, why would it take a strategy for Matthias as a civil servant to know that we need to move to the next level? Why does it have to take a strategy for that?
Why do we need a strategy? A strategy is to make a call and to direct.
Yeah.
So that's why we have it. So if we don't have that call and directive, people will not act.
Yeah.
So a strategy like now it's calling us to act.
Yeah.
And mind you, it's not something that we just sit and wait. It's a 5-year. It's not a 10-year. It's not a 20 years. It's a 5-year where we have to do MAE, monitoring and evaluation, and midterm reviews of the progress.
Yeah.
Then we have to call people to order on the progress.
Okay.
So there will be a constant review.
Yeah.
And some KPIs are annually that you have to produce ABC. And what is the means of verification that you have attained or you have executed the actions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just lastly and briefly, just a sentence from the ED's address this morning, Dr. Audrey Mate. He said, your insights, that's of course the attendance at the workshop, your insights will ensure that our vision is anchored in reality and that our ambitions are achievable. Do you think these ambitions are achievable that are contained in the document that you studied today?
Like I said, it's not our document. It's not his document. It's not mine. It's a nation document.
Yeah.
And it's possible. It's attainable. It's attainable based on the key success factors that we will list in the policy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Kamutuezu, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you very
It
much.
was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me. It's my first time,
Yeah,
but not the last.
it will definitely be the last.
Okay, good.
Thank you and all the best with your work with your team.
Good.
Well,
But mind you, tomorrow we have another workshop similar, but it will be a virtual one.
okay.
We make provision for the digital age generation.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
definitely tune in.
Okay.
Well, to our viewers, that's it from the Evening Review team this evening. Have a pleasant evening. See you again tomorrow, same time, same place.